One system that you might find useful is to learn the major scale on the top three strings harmonized as first inversion triads. So we take, let's make it a C scale. We find the C on the top string. This is E, F, G, A, B, C. There it is on the 8th fret. All right. So from there, we're going to build out our scale. Now, it happens that the C on the E string is near the middle of the first octave from 0 to 12 there. So we're not going to be able to do a whole major scale going up. We can do part of it going up and the other part is going to go down. But that's a good thing, because I think we learn major scales and practice major scales too often from octave to octave rather than, say, from fifth to fifth. But in reality, a lot of melodies are beautiful, very, very much because they spend part of the territory above the tonic and the other part below it. So seeing the tonic as a kind of a central thing rather than an end point is interesting, as well as seeing it as an end point. Anyway, so let's spell the C major scale out this way. So C, D, and E. Those are our first three notes of the major scale. They're a whole tone apart. We take the letters of the alphabet in sequence, C, D, E, and then of course you would have F, G, A, and B, and so on. So I'm actually going to do the pentatonic scale first. So I'm going to skip F and go straight to G here. And on the way down, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to skip the B and go straight to A. And then from A we go to G, and then from G we have the open E string. Okay, so there we have it. We have the pentatonic structure, and it's probably easiest to see if we remove these two end ones. And whenever you're playing any kind of pentatonic scale, no matter where it is on the neck and what strings it's involved, you're always playing this one pattern. Three notes that are a whole tone apart, and a pair that are a whole tone apart. But the distance between the pair and the trio here is 2 frets. And it happens to be 2 frets either way, so it's very easy to remember. 2 frets up here, and that G would be here. 2 frets down here, and that E would be here, okay? You think about that for a bit. Okay, but now we're going to add in the 4 and the 7. Right? These are, you have to think of the pentatonic scale. Well, you don't have to think of it, but a good way to think of it is as a subset of the major scale. That's why when we number this, we say 1, 2, 3, but not 4. 4 is this. 4 was removed, so this is still a 5. It's a 5 whether that's there or not. Okay. Same thing with that. If we keep going on from there, you get 5, 5, 6, and then the 7 goes in there. So if you were to go down backwards, you wouldn't go 1. I guess because it's a pentatonic scale, you might be tempted to say 1, 5. Oh, I'm getting confused. Okay, never mind. Let's go back to what I was trying to show you. The C major scale harmonized in first inversion triads. First inversion triad means the melody note is the root of the chord. So if we're playing a C chord, the highest note in that chord is going to be a C. So let's make that first. To make a first inversion chord, you're going to have the note down, first note down from the root has to be its fifth. There it is, right? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the same note as this. Different octave, but the same name. So this is a G. C, G. G is the fifth of C. Now we're going to need a third. 1, 2, 3. There's our third. So now we have a C triad. It's a C triad in first inversion because that C is there. The inversions get their name from the root position, which is this. If this C wasn't there, then you would have 1, 3, 5. That's called the root position when a chord is the numbers are in order from greatest to, so you can think of this, instead of root, call it 1, and then this is the 3 and the 5. So we're now taking that 1 or that root, putting it up here. That's the first inversion. If we then did it again and took this and put that over here, there's not enough strings for it, but then that would be the second inversion. And on a triad with 3 notes, that's all you'll have is the root position, the first inversion, and the third inversion. So you're going to get 3 different shapes for all of these chords. That's all. Very easy to grab shapes, very easy to see shapes. That's a major chord. If the 3. So what's going to end up happening is the first string, where we have the scale on right now, that's going to be the root of the chord. The second string, the B string, all the notes that are there are going to be the fifth of the chord. And when all the notes on the third string are going to be the third of the chord. So this is the third of this, and this is the fifth of this, okay? So let's see where else this shape exists. It exists on the 4 chord, and it exists on the 5 chord. I forgot to put a 4 in there. There we go. Okay, so we can have exactly the same shape as that. We first of all need the fifth of this F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a C. That goes in there. And then we need the third of the F. 1, 2, 3. We need that. That's going to be here. So that's an octave. We get used to that shape as well. Same distance as here. This is an octave, right? So now we have an F chord. I'm going to do the same thing with a G chord. Take the fifth, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a D. Take the third, 1, 2, 3. That's a B. So those are our 3 major chords. They look like that. And no matter what key it is, remember this whole pattern could shift depending on the key. So this is in the key of C because that's where this is the key center right now. But if I move this key center, say over to here, then this whole pattern would move exactly with it. So whatever you understand about the key of C, you can instantly apply to the 11 other keys. Or 14 other keys, if you're and harmonically inclined. Where was I? Okay, so those are our major chords. Our minor chords all share the same fifth. So in other words, the fifth is going to be stacked up just like that in a nice little neat pile. That's what makes it easy to remember. So the fifth of D is A. The fifth of E is B. The fifth of F, we already have our F chord here, but so we're going to take that off right now so that we just have one of each. Okay. And in fact, that would be this one. So I'm going to do that too. I'm going to take the 12th fret E minor chord away so we only have one of each. Okay? So we see an E minor chord being shaped here. It doesn't have a third yet. This is an F major chord. It's got its third. This is a G major chord. It's got its third. Here we've got an A minor chord, just the root of it. What do we need? We need its fifth, which is an E. And we're not going to put the third on the minors yet, just to demonstrate. And then we're going to take a B chord, and we need its fifth, which is an F. But oh, it can't be, because the F is over here. So what's going on? Well, that's the one anomaly. The B note is the root of the seventh chord. The seventh chord is a diminished chord. What makes it diminished? Well, it's just like a minor chord, but it has a flattened 5. The distance from between that F and B, that's a flattened 5, also known as a tritone. So, now, I said that this was like a minor chord, but with a flattened fifth. Well, let's look at the third of the minor chords. They're all in the same fret as the root. Very, very handy to know. So B is going to have D as its third. So now we see this one weird shape. We only get this shape once in a key, and it's always right below the tonic of the key. This is the diminished chord. It's got a root, a flat 5, and a flat 3, or a minor 3. Right? When we compare that 3 to a major, this one is, if this was major, it would be over here in relation to this. But it's minor, so here. So if you're getting them in the same fret like that, those are minors. There's another minor. And what's, oh yeah, so G was major, F was major. We want to make this B minor. This is all the open strings, the E string, the B string, and the G string, all open, create an E minor chord. So if you're just playing those 3 strings open and not playing the rest of the notes like that, you're automatically playing an E minor chord. So this shape then is repeated once. We also have it on the 4 chord. Well, the 4 in relation to this. It's actually the 6 in relation to this. So, so we have it on the A minor chord. So the E minor chord, A minor chord, and oh, we haven't finished our D minor chord. We should get that as well. What is the third of D minor? That's an F. So there we go. All right. So if you just go up to that point, and of course this now starts repeating, right? This is going to be here, and this shape is going to be here, and this shape is going to be here. So you can now go up the whole neck using this system. But what you've got is you've got the whole major scale, the C major scale, and you can see the 3 different shapes that are involved. First of all, this one, the diminished shape, which only happens once, is this triangle thing. The root is on the 7th fret, so there's that, okay? And then we have actually, this is a good space because you see all 3 types of chords. You see the diminished chord, you see the major chord with that 3rd pushed forward, and then you see the minor chord where you see the 1-3 relationship is the same as the diminished, but the 5 on a minor chord is the same as it is on the major chords. They're called perfect fifths, right? So you can start to just jam around. Every time you play one of these notes, you know, if you were jamming around on that scale, you might just play. I'm now up here, right? And all I'm doing is playing those notes, kind of not thinking too much about it, trusting that they will all sound good because they're in the same scale. But but seeing if I can make a story out of it. But now, instead of just playing these notes, we're going to play these two notes underneath it. So maybe I'll start right on this E minor here. Came down to here. Go back and forth between those two a couple times. You know, like if you have a guitar as you're listening to this, it's probably be a lot more fun because you can explore anything. Doesn't have to be the same thing as me, but because we're playing the same scale and the same type of chords, I bet we'd sync up to something quite listenable quite quickly. There's the diminished chord going between the C major and the diminished chord. There's another minor one. That's the A minor. And we got these two majors a whole tone apart. There's the G chord. Here comes the F chord. And if I end on that minor, putting an E right at the bottom, that's a Phrygian sound. That's using the C major scale, but having an E minor chord as the fundamental chord, the chord we come home to. But that's for another video. First inversion, C major triads on the first 3 strings. The root. Hello. The root is the same as the melody note. Try it out.